Hi everyone, I am back for a Fable and reading, just because, absolutely no reason, but because I'm enjoying doing these, and as long as you enjoy doing something, you should do it. A couple people have asked, again, this is Aesop's Fables. This particular book was one that I bought at Barnes & Nobles, and so it's bought, the company is Barnes & Nobles, and so, I don't know where else you would be able to purchase it, but there are Aesop's Fable books, of all different kinds, and and they're all similar. I do really like the illustrations on this particular book version of it, but again, it's not difficult to be able to find Aesop's Fable style books. I would think wherever you might be at. So, but somebody did ask that, so I thought I better would reiterate that. And let's just see what story that we have for today. Here we have, interesting, we have a longer one, The Miller, His Son, and Their Ass. But I feel like reading this one, so let's read this one. The Miller, His Son, and Their Ass. A miller and his son were driving their ass to a neighboring fair to sell him. They had not gone far when they met with a troop of women collected around a well, talking and laughing. "Look there," cried one of them. "Did you ever see such fellows to be trudging along the road on foot when they might ride?" The miller, hearing this, quickly made his son mount the ass, and continued to walk along merrily by his side. Presently, they came up to a group of old men in earnest debate. "There," said one of them, "it proves what I was saying. What respect is shown to old age in these days? Do you see that idle lad riding while his old father has to walk? Get down, you young scapegrace, and let the old man rest his weary limbs." Upon this, the miller made his son dismount and got up himself. In this manner they had not proceeded far when they met a company of women and children. "Why, you lazy old fellow," cried several tongues at once, "how can you ride upon the beast, while that poor little lad there can hardly keep pace by the side of you?" The good-natured miller immediately took up his son behind him. They had now almost reached the town. "Pray, honest friend," said a citizen, "is that ass your own?" "Yes," replied the old man. "Oh, one would not have thought so," said the other, "by the way you load him. Why, you two fellows are better able to carry the poor beast than he you." "Anything to please you," said the miller. "We can but try." So, alighting with his son, they tied the legs of the ass together, and by the help of a pole endeavored to carry him on their shoulders over a bridge near the entrance to town. This entertaining sight brought the people in crowds to laugh at it, till the ass, not liking the noise nor the strange handling that he was subject to, broke the cords that bound him, and tumbling off the pole, fell into the river. Upon this, the old man, vexed and ashamed, made the best of his way home again, convinced that by trying to please everybody, he had pleased nobody, and lost his ass in the bargain. The moral of the story being, he who tries to please everybody pleases nobody. I think that we can all relate to this particular story in many different, ways and shapes and forms in our lives. We come to this understanding that we simply can't please everybody, right? It's just simply isn't possible. And that if you spend a lot of time attempting to please everybody, in the end, you are going to lose out. You are not going to please anybody, not yourself, not any specific people, and in the end probably lose what you had in the first place. So I think that it's a hard lesson, right, to learn, because I do think that we are often taught you know, that we should be trying to make people happy. You know, I certainly think that we are raised to have, well, most of us, I think, are raised to have manners. We're raised to care what other people think about us. You know, the man understood, okay, well, the boy's on there. Well, maybe I should be the one riding because I am old. And then when they said the other, it's like, well, yeah, you know, my poor son, he's struggling. I better put him up here. And then it's like, oh my goodness, this poor donkey, we better carry him. And, you know, so I think it was attempting to do his best. But in the end, of course, just, you know, nothing was accomplished there. And so, but I do think that our natural instincts are to want to please people, to want to have, the approval of other people of what it is that we're trying to do. I think that that's human nature, and I think certainly we are raised that way, many of us. Now, some less than others, but there are some, especially women at a certain point, but I think it's certainly not just a gendered thing, but in my generation, and certainly before my generation, my mother's generation, there was still that kind of concept of really trying to be gracious and to smile all the time and to please people, be pleasant and quiet and don't make waves and don't argue, and those kinds of things are things that I was actually taught in school, because I did go to a private school that was a religious school, so it was a little bit behind, you know, it was getting probably some of the same things that my mother would have heard, but there were, I remember getting handouts about how to be pleasant and to, you know, make everybody happy and to make everybody content and to not make any waves and to not upset people. And, you know, I had handouts about that, especially your husband. So yeah, I think that some of it is socialized in, and some of it's just natural human tendency to want to please people. And I don't think that the moral of the story is don't try to please anyone, right? It's not that we have to all just not care about anybody whatsoever and not think about, you know, because there were ways in which, okay, what was the compassionate way to do this? What was the best way to handle this situation? Maybe, you know, you could take turns and those kinds, you know, there's things you could do. So I don't think it means to be callous to other people's, but it's like, don't run around with like a chicken, right, with its head cut off, trying to please everybody, because it simply isn't possible. It is humanly impossible to please everybody, and in the end, you're going to be miserable. They're not going to be pleased, and, you know, nothing has been won and much has been lost. So I think it's certainly a message that we all probably in some way or another can hear, are good to hear. So let's see what cards we get. The first thing that we have is the Knight of Cups. I love this because I feel like the Knight of Cups is one of those that is kind of going out and looking for the Holy Grail and trying to do things in betterment of people around him. And then here we have the Seven of Wands. And so this is interesting because for me, the Seven of Wands is that sort of defense of what's important. So understanding what and who are important is important, right? In the situation of this story, where we could be like the knight, you know, spending our entire lives fighting the green giants and doing these things in order to try to find the Holy Grail that is going to be, you know, this sort of wonderful thing for the entire world, right? Instead, the Seven of Wands is asking us to know what it is that's important, and to take a stand for that and be willing to fight for that. Yes, to try to make certain people and situations and things happy, right? To be standing up for the things that are important. But first you've got to know what it is, who and what is important, and, you know, who and what you have the ability to stand up for. Oops, let me go for the very bottom one, for the last one. And here we have number 11. So let's see. I love that image. I'll show them a little bit more closely for you. I love this deck. So this is, if you haven't seen my other ones, this is the John Bauer deck. So this is artwork by John Bauer. So here we have the Knight of Cups off on the Holy Crusades for the betterment of all. Here we have the Seven of Wands. We have a giant ogre here, right? And we have these little people down. Whoa! I'm trying to keep this open, but this is clearly not the one to do so. Let's do this one. This is what crystals are for, is keeping books open. So here we have these little people down here trying to figure out what are we going to do? How are we going to defend ourselves against this particular giant here? And then lastly, we have the 11, which I don't think this is, oh, this would be Justice in this deck, I'm assuming. But let's take a peek, because you shouldn't assume. Yeah, because the Strength card is the bear with the little girl, which is, I just love that. So this would be the Justice card, but I'm going to make sure, because it's not a deck that's particularly following anything. So it could go either direction. Yes, Justice. A young boy stands before a hag. She sits on a stone and runs her long hands through her hair. They seem to be conversing over something. Meanings bring your world into balance. Be fair and be kind to others. It is time to make a choice. But see, there still is that connotation. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see these a little bit better. There we go. That's beautiful, because this is about, again, making a choice. Yes, we need to be fair. We need to be kind-hearted. The message here is not to be unkind or to go about and say, I just don't really care. You know, I don't give a flying leap about anybody, but it is to be fair, and that fairness needs to extend to self as well as others. You can only do so much. Be as just and as fair and act in accordance to that sense of justice as you can, but in the end, you are going to have to pick your battles. You are going to have to decide what is an important battle for you, what's important for you to defend of self, who are the people that you are carrying to that are part of your people, or part of your circle, that you're going to kind of listen to their opinions and that, because you can't take into account everybody's. And so I think that these really beautifully do work with the story itself. That it's good to write out and help and try to help as many people as possible, but understand there are going to be points in which you need to pick your battles, and in doing so, you be as just and as fair and as kind as possible, but within those limits and within those boundaries of understanding that you cannot please everybody. So I'm just love these. I'm sorry, but I'm not really sorry, but I do love these little readings, and so that's all. I just wanted to pop on and do another one, and I wish you all well. It's holiday season, right? This is the time in which this feeling of not being able to please everyone is so strong. People have, especially nowadays, right? People have split a lot of, not that we never had split families, but certainly when I was younger and before me, of course, there were less of needing to go to so many places, because, even my daughter, she obviously has to go to her dad's and mine, so she's got two there, and then she has, cousins that she goes to, and then she has to go to an aunt's house and things of that nature, and it starts to really can multiply to where you are trying to make everybody happy and stop in for every place and make sure you have the proper food for this person, and it can really become one of those things in which, in trying to make everybody happy, nobody's happy and you're miserable and exhausted, right? So especially over these holiday seasons, I think this is certainly words that we can all take to heart. So I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your night or day, and I will talk to you later.